you're a fraud.
You're a liberal hack.
Yep, okay, it's recording, and we are doing a new episode of The Hack and the Fraud, Nico. Who are we doing this week?
We've got Christopher Nolan as our special guest today, and we are going to critique his film. The films are going to absolutely rip into shreds.
Looking forward to it, guys. That was Chris.
How can I be better, please?
Yeah, he's looking forward to a lesson in film. Even the master still has a little bit to learn sometimes. So
No, I reckon he's the sort of guy that really would say he'd love to be critiqued. Like he'd say, "Please, I'm open to criticism. And then get very defensive with everything that you say."
yeah, absolutely
everything, and I love him for it.
So Dunkirk's not like the best World War II.
What is it?
Wait. Which one's the? If not that one. Yeah. So on the Hack and the Fraud, we will be talking about some of our favourite films. Firstly, I think my favourite film, your favourite film. You've got one. We've probably got the same one, maybe.
We possibly do. I've got Nolan pretty high rated on my sort of list of my all-time favourite films. So I'm certainly going to be adding to the weight of fanfare. But my favourite one of his is Interstellar.
Ooh.
Which is that the same as yours, or have you got a different favourite? It's
the
same. Oh no, it's never good when we're the same.
No,
but we can talk about why we love it, and then
Why?
I think maybe what might be good is we talk about Tenet, his last one, because you were sort of a fan and I wasn't.
I'll talk about that in my underrated one.
Good call.
Not to spoilers. Skip ahead to. Interstellar. What do you love about Interstellar?
It's a hard one to explain because it really. I was talking about at work just earlier, and my boss and the one that sucks up to him as well. They said, "Oh, it's actually a really bad film." And he's like, "Finally, someone says it." And I'm just like, "Oh, hang on a second. I don't care who you are." Now, what I love about it is it's ambitious. So it really takes on a meaning of life type trajectory, like it takes on themes that are larger than itself, similar to obviously 2001 A Space Odyssey, in terms of answering life's sort of, like big questions. Survival of a species over survival of, I suppose, family. So it's really very, very good and very clever themes. Scientifically, it's pretty sound. They talk about how scientifically accurate that bloody, what was that one with Matt Damon where he's on Mars?
Oh, The Martian.
The Martian. Which is like, but the rest of the film kind of sucks. But it doesn't matter that it's scientifically.
The science is good. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm not watching a science lesson with Bill Nye. I'm watching like a movie, please.
Well, that's the thing. Some people do watch, especially science fiction guys.
That can't happen, actually. No, that can't happen.
It took me right out of the movie. I couldn't believe the rest of it. So,
I mean, and that's what's good about this film. It is a film first and science second, but the science is. I'm pretty sure he had scientific advisors that were able to advise him up to what they know in terms of for black holes and for
Rip Torn. No, it was Rip
Rip Torn.
It was Rip something, and he's like he's a premier black hole scientist, and they did all kinds of simulations and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I like the science part of it too. It's grounded enough that it imbues the film with a realism because it is so grounded. It's part of the old. There's this new thing I've discovered, NASA punk, where it's kind of the stylistically of kind of like the old school NASA sci-fi. Like old school NASA style within a sci-fi universe. And Interstellar's part of it. Anyway,
that makes sense. And I think why it's my favorite of all of Christopher Nolan's films, because I've got to come up with some reason why he sometimes doesn't hit the mark, and he occasionally, for me, doesn't quite nail emotion in a movie. Doesn't quite nail the sort of emotive sort of like
it's been said.
He has characters that can be a bit kind of wooden.
Well, delivering exposition rather than characters, as they say. I kind of disagree. I've never really found Nolan particularly lacking in that department. I mean, even if you go far, Inception's pretty far back, but also the Batman movies. But Inception, fairly emotional movie, even with the exposition. But with Interstellar, I mean, I think you're right with Interstellar, is that this is probably the time that he has most nailed the emotional side of things. I mean, the central thematic element of the movie is, probably the love of a father and a daughter, and the love of a couple. Anne Hathaway and her, she was right.
Yeah. Well, that's right. And I think it's not corny. Well, some people might find it that, but I didn't find it corny at all. That love was something that transcends time and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't like, I don't think you sort of were meant to take that as, scientific fact now. No, but
yeah, that's right.
But I do appreciate that's what the core element of the theme was, that, and conveyed very well by Mr. Hans Zimmer, who I'm called Hans today. But it's also my favorite ever soundtrack and score of any movie that I just... okay. I've even gone to see Hans Zimmer in concert just waiting for the Interstellar.
I saw the... not a great reception to the group invite to the Hans Zimmer orchestra, but I understand, yeah. And I mean, I don't have one off the top of my head to beat it, because I also really enjoy the Interstellar score. It is, super fun. Just beautiful music, tense music. I love the way that, especially when they're on the water planet, the ticking, which obviously has become a bit of a Nolan trademark.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I really liked. For me, it is that grounded sci-fi, but asking the big questions. It really does feel kind of like our generation's 2001: A Space Odyssey, probably a bit more blockbuster than Stanley Kubrick, but that's kind of what we love about Christopher Nolan as well, is that he does make pictures for a wide audience. Well, not
it's to bring everyone to that's what's great. I think that's a good point, because he makes films for everyone to enjoy at the cinema, right? He's not taking a shortcut to Netflix. It's for the big screen. It's for everyone to go see and get excited, with practical effects as well. It's another big love of his, and it really and ours. And it's like you said, it's beautiful music, and it's matched in its visceral quality with the effects of literally everything. That wormhole scene, it's dazzling.
We could talk.
We say dazzling. Is that okay?
Is that okay? I think it is. I mean, it deserves it. Does it inspire awe? I think it does. I think we can talk for hours about the docking sequence. Obviously, just that sequence alone is almost thrilling enough for just a short film. Like, what's happening here? Love Interstellar.
It's taken over the previous meaning of docking. Like, it's Google. If you type in docking scene, if you type that in before watching this film, you're getting a completely different
Twitter fans
video.
Look up docking on Twitter. You'll see exactly what we're talking about. Yeah. Okay. Well, we both
not straight.
We don't. Yeah, not straight. I would think we don't really have much to disagree on here. We both just So we'll move past Interstellar. I think our fans know that we're big Interstellar fans. But so I'll say least favorite movie next.
Oh, okay. This will be good, because I know you're not going to say Tenet. So I'm
definitely not going to.
I'm waiting to see what you're going to say.
Well, don't let me keep you waiting any longer. No, it's. I mean, it's not a particularly controversial one. I think it's Insomnia, which is one of his earlier movies. I believe his third movie in 2002, after Memento and Batman Begins. I haven't seen Following. I haven't seen his debut picture yet. I believe it's kind of like a student film anyway. But yeah, Insomnia is kind of like a by-the-numbers crime thriller. It's got Al Pacino and Robin Williams as the killer. And it was kind of made in that era where it certainly isn't Christopher Nolan in his auteur mode. There's no recognizable Nolan traits. It's shot very, just standard 2002 blockbuster movie. Kind of like a neo-noir, but with more thrilling kind of elements. So, look, it is fine. It adds nothing to the thriller genre. Robin Williams' performance is, relatively enjoyable, but and Al Pacino is always, really fun to watch. It's set in like this small town, and Al Pacino comes in from the big city, and he's also getting investigated for by internal affairs. And so on paper, it sounds like it's going to be fun. It's less fun than it ends up being. And it kind of is in the mold of Seven and David Fincher style crime thrillers, but doesn't reach those heights. It feels like one of those weird ones in a director's filmography. I guess he had some hype after following his first film, and then Memento, obviously. So after Memento, they go, here's a blockbuster. And he tackles the sort of blockbuster crime thriller. Not super blockbuster.
So this came after Memento, did it?
After Memento. It's sort of that mid-budget adult drama that I suppose directors, that's the direction they kind of went in. And then after that...
Do you reckon that was something that was more of a studio film? Not really
one for them. But then he did Batman Begins right after. So it's interesting. Like, you wouldn't really... Okay, so Memento is great, and we haven't seen the following. But Insomnia is not great, and then straight to Batman Begins. You wouldn't be thinking at this time Christopher Nolan's going to go on to be one of the great directors of his generation, really. Batman Begins, but then you have The Prestige and The Dark Knight, and I think that's probably where he really begins to take off. So Insomnia is not like a big criticism. It's just he didn't. I suppose he didn't really put in. I'm sure he put in effort, but it doesn't feel like he put in any real effort. There's nothing about it that's really distinctive. So
yeah, fair enough.
That's the one.
I'm interested in when you mentioned Batman Begins. So for me, that always seemed to be something that happened to be a superhero film, but was certainly Christopher Nolan's own universe.
Definitely.
So it wasn't.
Definitely.
It was sort of pre the Marvel and DC kind of cookie cutter. Everything's the same sort of days. Was that also a studio? A studio. So they said, here we got a trilogy that we want to put, and you're our guy for it. And Chris Nolan go, I've got an idea where to take this. And
I assume after the success of Batman Begins, I mean, it would have been pre Batman Begins. They would have said, if it goes well, we're doing the trilogy. So, and at the time that was the era of the gritty reboot, like Casino Royale and stuff. So it definitely was one of those ones where it was like, whoa, now superheroes get a gritty reboot as well. So it definitely had an impact, but I just, kind of weird to me. I've never really thought about it before, that those are his kind of, not that it's bad, but it is like a studio superhero movie. So you're not necessarily thinking, oh yeah, I can't wait to see what this Christopher Nolan does next. He's a real exciting, like Tarantino after 4 movies. It's still like he's a different prospect altogether.
He established that really right away, didn't he? That renown. Christopher Nolan, it's interesting though, because it also came at a time where I think there was a lot more shining through from a directing point of view with superhero movies. So if you remember just the Spider-Man series, it had a very Sam Raimi flavor.
Absolutely.
All 3 movies. And then when I look back on this, the Batman trilogy, I think of Christopher Nolan. I don't think of
definitely
DC Dark Universe.
I'm thinking this is the best the DCEU has ever got.
Yeah, right? Like it just exists on its own. And I don't think there's been a single superhero movie after that, and it includes Sam Raimi's, that have really been, like this is a director's, art or something, coming forward.
They're all just,
maybe Taika Waititi, but barely. I can't really defend that because he sort of didn't really.
Thor 4 was horrible. You can see the kind of direction it went. It was like it started off with Iron Man, obviously, but then it was like a very Joss Whedon mold that then morphed into the Russo brothers mold, and now that's still what Marvel's doing, and clearly it's it's over. It's fucking over. Nobody wants to see a Russo brothers movie, which has been very evident, especially with like all their like Netflix and other streaming services, and where they did the Grey Man. Nobody wants to see a fucking Russo brothers movie, but people
just
still
it's got Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans. I kind of I hate that I do want to see it, but I'm not watching in Marvel. But I watch that. I'll give you one that I didn't love, and it is from those 3. No, it doesn't. I mean, Tenet, I think we'll just discuss on its own, but I thought maybe the Dark Knight Rises as a sort of finishing trilogy. I got to say, I probably enjoyed Batman Begins more than that. Yeah, no, which everyone kind of. I think Batman Begins is just as its own. If it never had a sequel, it still exists and is its own pretty decent film. Batman Dark Knight Rises felt like a kind of a bit of a rush job, especially at the end. Not to say it's a bad film at all. I really enjoyed it, to be honest. But I just kind of thought it was a bit more, taken on, especially the end. I thought it was just wrapped up too quickly.
The ending is kind of whatever, and kind of like you say, wraps up very neatly. But so firstly, I think I don't love the aesthetic of Batman Begins, which is just very surface level. It is more of the comic book movie style rather than the Michael Mann crime thriller that he established with The Dark Knight. But then also there are just so many iconic moments, which sounds like a superhero fanboy thing. So many iconic moments, man.
But survivors,
the plane sequence, I can watch the opening plane sequence any day. Like, watch the whole thing, is so enjoyable. The blowing up the stadium during the NFL match, so good. Every Bane line in the movie, like, it's just a fucking cool movie, and I like all the different characters. Anne Hathaway as Catwoman is actually great.
Yeah,
love
decent,
that.
right? And I also noticed it doesn't work with many actors more than once. Obviously, notably, you got Michael Caine, who appears in almost like all his last. Well, Anne Hathaway's too, and true, and that's right. Yeah, he's
Gillian is in like every movie since. Well, he wasn't in The Prestige, but
Scarecrow. I forgot about that. There you go, Scarecrow, and
he's in Dunkirk as well, and now Oppenheimer. So he's got room.
I'll give another friendly shout out to Dunkirk. The only criticism I have of that movie is just I don't think it's sold. It's another 9.5 out of 10 for me. So it's not like it's something that I really hate. With Nolan, I'm always finding my critiques are sort of nitpicks. Yeah, kind of like with Dark Knight Rises, but I didn't think he sold the gravity of
scale.
Yeah, the scale of the situation as well. And I sort of compare the Dunkirk evacuation scene with Atonement, if you've ever seen that.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen...
the scene? Yeah, with one shotter and it goes around, and it's fantastic.
You really do feel the scale of it.
Yeah. If he could just insert that scene into the film, obviously the tone's a bit different, but... But everything else is fantastic. I love just the sound. People said it's too loud. It's like not loud enough. Like let's make some people deaf. Yeah. There's plane sounds that I'm pretty sure they said they had
Stuka bombers.
Yeah, the sound was it was frightening, and you just don't see that.
And how good when he's like lying on the ground and the bombs are coming towards him, exploding. The sounds getting louder with each one. Yeah, he's a master. I think that one is probably where he's flexing his audio muscles the most, because it's got like the score that kind of doesn't change, just the ticking through the whole movie. And then also, just the sounds of war, but in the different environments that the different characters are in. So I think that one probably is the most.
Yeah, 100%. I think that was the most recognized out of all his work for sure. But I loved the performances the most out of all his other films. I thought every single character knocked out of the park, and they weren't overacting. It wasn't ever even Harry Styles. He's great.
He's fine. Yeah. He's.
But all the lines were just said so unassumingly. It was really, I don't know. It's like Tom Hardy. Everything he said, I'm on him. It's just like
I'm on him. Yeah. No, you're right.
It's not like wow, that's a great pilot, like in Star Wars. It's just
that's one hell of a pilot.
Yeah, it's just they're just doing their job, and they just go about and do their job, and it's amazing. They're doing amazing things, and they're just so unassuming.
Yeah, no, you're right. And that did just immediately evoke the image of where it's like, I'm on it, and he just kind of downs him, and then it just downs, and there's no swelling score or anything. And the sound is very realistic as well. And you're not cutting to the other plane. You're kind of seeing it all from Tom Hardy's perspective. Yeah, Tom Hardy's... and also, the whole movie is in triptych. It's got these 3 sequences over 3 different time periods that all end up culminating, climaxing at the same moment. It's I mean, it's brilliant, and it's real. I mean, it's brilliant, but that's probably when people think of Nolan and think of Nolan fanboys and the caricature of Nolan. He's doing all those things in that movie, which I, as a Nolan fanboy, I really appreciate it. So
I think at this point you just gotta if you can back up why you like something, then it's fine. I think what happens is people they gravitate to all this love and they want a reason to hate it. And they're like, oh, I don't like that he's liked so much. I want to drag him back because he's not as good. And it happens to everyone. I think.
Oh yeah,
QT's got his deriders, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm almost anti Quentin Tarantino now, just because. You see enough things that he says, and people being like, "Yeah, Tarantino's the movie guy." He's saying like fucking stupid shit, or doing something cringe, like he did like a post where Rick Dalton died, and they did like it's just cringe. And now I'm like,
no, it's not cringe. That was funny. I think it's kind of cool. He's really. Because it was always like, is there a Tarantino verse? And he was like, no, I know we've got too many universes and too many things, but
in
the Tarantino verse, Rick Dalton died today. It's nothing. It's just harmless.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with it.
That's what I want more from my directors, is like the lore between them.
Yeah, so unironically, like seriously.
Well, like Nolan doesn't have, as every movie just stands by itself. I love that. I love that it's just its own piece of art, apart from the sequels, obviously.
No, I follow him on Twitter, and he's got like a recurring tweet about Michael Caine died today.
Actually, speaking of like mixed unit, it would be great if Oppenheimer, of Tarantino and Nolan, if Oppenheimer did like an alternate universe thing like Tarantino, like with when he kills all the Nazis, where like the bomb sets the world on fire and the last half of the movie is like a post-apocalyptic wasteland. I would enjoy that if that's maybe something like that, if that's the direction he went.
That would be pretty funny.
Alternate universe?
Universe. The Nolan.
All right, so what do you do you have a...
Let's do it. Let's go again. The Tenet. That's what people want. So we'll get into Tenet.
Give them what they want. What do you
talking about this briefly? I said basically one of the criticisms of
2 out of 10.
No, not 2 out of 10. I certainly wasn't. I've got it in front of me.
Was it 1? Was that too high?
No, it was like not a bad score. It's 3 out of 5, like 6 out of 10.
Yeah, quick.
But
actually, hang on. Let me just. Yeah, you're right.
It's a passable movie, but it's not something. Said here? Would you recommend it? No.
No, you wouldn't recommend it to anybody.
Well, I mean, like I wouldn't say don't watch it. Like you're going to waste your time, but it's not one that I'd say. You love Christopher Nolan, go watch this. I think Tenet for me is the worst parts of Christopher Nolan in a film. It's the criticisms of him, and he basically doubled down and made Tenet. That's what I think of that film.
I agree, but I find that to be good. That's a good.
That's what I mean. Like it's like he's like, you know what? I think it was like a revenge for not getting Dunkirk Best Picture or something like that. Is all right. This is like an Adam Sandler.
All right, fuck yeah.
I'm going to put out Tenet, and I'm going to have all the characters suck and not have any emotion. And it's going to be complicated. It's going to go forward and then backwards.
Time travel.
You're not going to know what's going on.
And you're not going to be able to hear a single line of dialogue.
Yeah, that's right. The audio is going to be...
I'm crashing a plane into a hangar. There's nothing you can do to stop me.
The plane's not even off the ground.
So what I like about Tenet, what do I not like about Tenet? First of all, I actually do like the performances and the characters. It hints at a deeper universe and a deeper world without knocking you over the head with the exposition that people so often complain about Christopher Nolan with. I like the relationship between Robert Pattinson and John David Washington. I love that that John David Washington is the actual leader guy and he's friends with him in the future, and that they're going on different friend trajectories to end up at the same place. It's a very clever idea, and I love the way that Christopher implemented that in the movie. I don't think the time travel is that confusing. I think you just don't worry about it so much. You just go along with it. Don't think about it. It's like in Looper where Bruce Willis is like, don't worry about the time travel. Let's not talk about it.
It's a nod to the audience. It's from Austin Powers where he says, don't you guys go overthinking about this. You're going to go cross-eyed.
Well, exactly. That's what it's going to be. That's what you get when you go into the movie. I think you just have to accept, like, going in, don't worry about, like, the logic of it necessarily. Just go along for the ride. And it's a visceral experience what Nolan is putting you through in this movie. But yeah, that's why it's all filmed in IMAX. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, the difference here with this and Interstellar, where it really, he sort of, throws some things at you that, like for going into the fifth dimension. He sort of says, I'm backing this up with what we know about science. And so when people come to him and say, that's confusing, he goes, actually read a science book.
Different kind of movie.
I know it's a different kind of movie. I'm just saying, like, like the plot for me. I could follow the plot. It's not like I'm saying I couldn't follow the plot. I could follow the plot in Inception too. I haven't got the same criticism.
The way that you brought up that you could bring up Inception makes me kind of think that maybe you don't understand Inception. But no,
that's right. No, but like in terms of it's like, but it was needlessly complicated in terms of how many layers they went. It kind of detracted from. No, Inception. No, Inception.
That's fine,
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Tenet. Inception was fine. No problem. I'm talking just about Tenet. What didn't lose me, it sort of just like I wasn't immersed because I was like, wait, hang on, is he going backwards or is he going forwards? Like,
have you watched it again?
I watched it again in the actual movie again.
Oh, okay.
Because it went back and back and
well,
back.
Well,
I've literally, if you watch Tenet once, you've watched it 20 times because you see the same thing.
Yeah, watch it once forward and watch it once backwards, and then it starts.
Yeah, you gotta watch it backwards from the start. That's the key.
Yeah, on my second watch, I enjoyed it a lot more because I wasn't trying to figure out what was going on. I was just like going along with it. And I think also I didn't mention before, but Kenneth Branagh and is it Elizabeth Debicki or something like that? Yeah. But Kenneth Branagh specifically, I didn't like his performance the first time around, but the second time around, I really did. It's just like Russian oligarch, like really hamming it up, like using all his like Shakespearean acting to just be like, get these motherfuckers. It's a fun performance while like still feeling grounded within the movie itself. Again, the score is really good, and all the action sequences are like his action and again physical effects. In his top tier. He's doing wild stuff in this movie. It's really a thrill to watch.
It felt a little bit like a Christopher Nolan imitation film. Like that someone who'd watched Inception and thought, I'm going to do this, but use this plot for it, and like they didn't get it, kind of thing. They didn't get what made Inception great, and they kind of just threw a bunch of parts together and just hoped that it came good at the end. Like,
yeah, I can.
Did you care about Elizabeth Debicki getting out with her child and diving off the end of the boat?
Like a little bit. Yeah, like a little bit. I was more into Robert Pattinson and John David Washington's character.
Yeah, he was strong. He was strong. I'll give you that. David Washington, I didn't love
People have
as
said
much.
That he was boring. I thought he was. Yeah.
It wasn't boring. No, he sort of. There were parts where he was coming through pretty well. Like he was sort of like a good lead, and other times where he was a little bit out of his depth. That's just what I felt.
But he wasn't. I liked him.
He wasn't weak.
I thought he was charismatic enough in his. Obviously, he's being taken along for the ride, the character, and he's like doesn't know what world he's in, kind of thing. But for me, it felt like a Christopher Nolan kind of spy thriller, James Bond type thing, and I felt like he filled that James Bond type role pretty well. And Robert Pattinson, I thought Robert Pattinson was the stronger of the two and brings a lot of charisma to the performances. He's also sort of like a generous actor, I think, in that he gives John David Washington room to shine just with like funny lines that are funny because of how Robert Pattinson presents to him, which is a bit complicated, but yeah. Liked their two performances. For me, it felt like a special movie. Like, it didn't feel like these disparate parts. It felt like, oh, yes, Christopher Nolan has it. So now I give it a 10, and I think it's like, I am thrilled every time I watch it. Just going along. It's one of those movies which is getting rarer and rarer these days with our TikTok addled microplastic brains. But like, just to sit down and watch it, not be distracted, not pick up your phone, just go along for it. It's a long movie as well. I'm not sure how long it is. Probably 2.5 to 3 hours. And I'm wrapped the entire time. So
no, fair enough. It's like it's a good mark for him to have a film that's still watchable and passable after how many? Or I mean, I haven't seen Insomnia, so. But it's just for me, it's all of his vices, all of his little misdemeanors in a film put together, just amplified up to 20. Like
yeah.
Like actually, it's just he kind of doubled down on every single criticism and just said, "I'm just going to put this out, and you're just going to have to live with it," which I love. I love the pettiness.
Yeah,
but
well, I can't disagree. It seems like that's what he's done.
Oppenheimer, I think so
we've
watched the trailer of it, and it doesn't. Yeah, I am. Yeah, no, the last trailer I thought I'd probably recommend against not watching the final trailer. It seemed to have too much in it. You
when
just
they
want to
reveal the mid
too much,
20th
right?
century
Yeah.
scientist universe. Like when they introduced Albert Einstein, it's like, oh shit, he's in.
Damn it, he's in. Yeah. It was like, is he in? Yeah, he's in.
Yeah. I was a bit confused when it was first announced, just sort of like a historical drama, but I've been kind of swayed by the trailers and kind of how he's been talking about it, and have ended up being pretty excited for it.
For sure. I think I'm going to love it. I think I'm going to love it a lot. And the cast is pretty out of this world. You just don't see many casts where like if you go on IMDb and you look at, you're like 20 names deep and you're like, Jesus, he's in it. Wow.
I haven't had a good look, but I bet Jesse Plemons is in it, isn't he?
I didn't see, but maybe.
Maybe. Feels like the kind of movie that
sounds like
to fill it out. The cast does look very good. We'll see. It's after so many sort of high concept movies. I mean, when it was Insomnia the last time he did anything relatively real life? I guess Dunkirk, but even that's like World War II, different world, different. Like it didn't feel like a modern kind of realistic movie in the way that I guess this is just also a World War II. We'll see. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm not as excited as I might have been for like an Interstellar or a Tenet. Or even Dunkirk, because it's a war movie with action scenes and stuff, and just gives him room to breathe and allows him to show off his remarkable style. And I guess all we really have in Oppenheimer is the bombs, but maybe that'll be enough. Da bomb, hot wings. They should do. After they've done all these brand movies, they'll do that soon enough. Hot ones. Sure. The story of hot ones. Anyway. So that's Christopher Nolan chat. You got any more?
No, I've got nothing else to add. I think that's it's pretty good. He's got a lot of runs on the board. He's got a very annoying fan following, including us too. Yeah, we can admit that. But but I think there's a reason why he's got this sort of following for sure. Like where they sort of chomping at the bit to watch his latest movie. Because he gets you excited about cinema. I think it's his mantra of having, if he could do something practically, then he'll take that over doing it as a like a CGI special. That speaks to my aging 80-something-year-old heart.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, I love all his choices, obviously, and that's the thing. If you're a film lover, he's a film lover. It's hard to be too cynical about it because, and I mean, you could bet Tarantino's another film lover kind of director, but his homage kind of tends towards parody almost, whereas Nolan has just got influences and loves film in a kind of less fanboy way. He's more technical, I suppose. That's the thing that people might not love about him as much, his technicality rather than maybe imbuing it with emotion. But
that's right. Yeah, sometimes you miss that coldness, and that's not to say I completely agree. It just can sometimes miss the mark in those sort of even Memento, early days Memento, where there's for what should really be a pretty emotional movie, it can sometimes just be a cold bit of exposition. And it's just things you pick up, but it's only because you watch him so often because you love the work that he's putting out.
Yeah,
that's it. It's like if you could pick apart Spielberg or anyone else.
Oh, I could.
But
can't wait for that episode.
Yeah, last 20 years of Spielberg.
Yeah. Oh.
All right. So we got a few. I think we got Greta Gerwig coming up.
We got Greta Gerwig next. Yeah. So tune in for that one.
Bitches be filming.
All right. Yeah, this one's for the ladies. All right, good.
Keep that in. Don't edit it out.
All right. Thanks, DK.
All right, see ya.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.